Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create the scene you can see right here. This is of course Apple's latest product, the Apple iPhone 6. So we'll be tackling this project over two parts and two videos. In the first part, all we're going to be doing is the modeling. Even though this iPhone doesn't have a lot of objects to model, the objects that it does have, it's very very detailed, and we're going to need a lot of geometry to make that. So the modeling will take a while. These two images here are two more renders I've taken of this phone. So you can see the level of geometry we're going to be needing. It's quite a lot, so it'll take a while. Okay, then part two, we'll be doing everything else: the texturing, the shading, the scene setup, and then finally the lighting. Okay, so let's begin, shall we? Okay, so here I'm using the Blender. What I'm going to do first is go over to my units of measurements and change it to metric, because we'll be transforming this cube here from the real iPhone dimensions, which I have right here. So the x-axis is going to be 67 millimeters, so 67 millimeters, and then on the y-axis it's going to be 6.9 millimeters, and then finally on the z-axis it's going to be 138.1 millimeters. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Now, what you'll notice is the grid floor is looking pretty big, and this can really throw us off. So I'm just going to go over here to the properties menu to display, and then I can change the scale of the grid floor. I found a value of about 0.1 works quite well. Alright, so yeah, what we're going to need now is some background images, because we can't just start modeling this off from reference images. We're going to need something to base it off of. So I will be providing some reference image, some background images, in the description below. It's my first time hosting a image online. So if you have any problems with it, if you can't get your hands on it, just tell me and I'll make sure you can get a copy. I have the background image right here. I'm just gonna working on my second screen here. I'm just gonna throw it on here. And then one thing I should say, this image I'm providing is not the render from the iPhone we're making. This was from like two projects, two tries I did. So you'll notice a few things here, like the button is very squiggly and doesn't look so great. It isn't perfectly circular, as well as the flash over here. But we'll be making these circles perfect. So yeah, this is just so we can get the general proportions right and these curves and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add in a background image for each of my views. So a front view, and then a back view, and then a top view, and then two more, a left view and a right view. And I'm going to align these with my mesh. Remember, you want to align them with your mesh, not with your mesh of the image, if that makes sense, because we want to be keep the dimensions of our mesh here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to pause the video while I do this because it can take a while to get the correct values. Alright, cool. So now that we're finished with aligning our images to the dimensions of our cube, I'm going to delete this cube, and then I'm going to add in a circle and give the circle a vert count of 16. The reason why we're doing this is, let me show you quick. I'm going to scale this all the way down and throw this to the edge of the phone. This is going to give us just a really nice curve, and also the way I'm going to be extruding these. Oops, actually I should have moved that in edit mode. My bad. Messed up everything here, but go back to edit mode and redo that. Alright, so I want to keep this center there, and then go to edit mode and move it, because we'll be applying a mirror modifier, and as you all know, the mirror modifier will apply on a one-to-one axis from where your what do you call that? Where the object point is. Yeah, so that's why we keep the object point in the center. Okay, so I'm just going to delete all these verts over here, and I want to make sure that we have all these verts extending beyond this stripe, because the way we're going to be extruding this around the top of the phone is going to help us create these stripes you can see right here once we texture it. Because this is not an image texture, this is actually the flow of the verts, if that makes sense. So there's, if you imagine faces, all this is like a row of, never mind. but you'll see once we get there, it'll make sense to you. But yeah, this is one of the easiest ways I found doing this. And then another important thing, you want to make sure that we keep this loop cut over here on this exactly where the back cover is going to meet the screen, and this will also help us when we're extruding it, just to keep our what do you say? But I'll show you in a second. Let me just extrude this all the way up here, just by hitting E to these lines up at my reference. Screencast keys aren't here anymore. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to take this up to where this line begins, and then extrude this over here. And what I was saying about that, making sure that this loop cut stays where the screen, where the back cover is going to meet the screen, is just to keep our just have a point of reference when we're doing this. As you can see, just so we can know exactly what to do. We're just going to do this all the way to the end, and then we'll be applying a mirror modifier. So let's go ahead and do that. Go into the modifier menu and look for mirror, and we'll be applying this on both the Z and the X axis. Enable clipping so it doesn't travel away from us. Just like that, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now that we have that, what's next? Let's add some more geometry over here to give this a bit more of a curvature, just like this. And that looks pretty good. Yeah, cool. Alright, so now what we need to do is give this this cover an actual back, because yeah, of course, that's what we're going to be doing now. So I'm just going to get rid of this background image. We don't need it at the moment. But distracting. I think what I'm going to do is take these two verts, so we selected this line in between them, and just hold Shift D to duplicate it, and right click to cancel any movement. And then I'm just going to slide this all the way on the x-axis to the center, and then selecting these four verts. I'm going to hit F, and that's going to make a face between those. Alright, so this is a bit of a tricky part, because what we want to do is connect all of this geometry while keeping four-sided polygons, as opposed to like a triangle or something like that. So what I'm going to do is add in a loop cut over there and over here, and just join these up. Okay, so another thing I wanted to mention is we have two options here to an extent. We can either make a lot of vertical lines to join up some of these, or horizontal lines. Let me show you what I mean. Like over here, we can join this vertically, or we can join this horizontally. And what we want to do is join as many horizontally as possible. Reasons being is because we're going to be adding in a flash and then the camera, and that's going to need some more lines. So it's better to add them now than later. And for another reason, which I'll show you in a second. So I'm just going to go ahead and add up as many as I can horizontally. And then we'll clean up our mesh in a second. Here you can see we're starting to come to an end to what we can do horizontally. So this is the last one. Wait a second. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's not do that last one, but add in a vertical and then this up. Oops. Disregard this one over here. We can delete that edge loop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we have a problem over here. Add another vertical line, just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, cool. Another reason why I want to add as many horizontal lines now as possible, because we don't want to start adding them later. We're gonna have to do something like this, and then as you can see, it wants to throw lines over here. What this is going to do is mess up the curve over here. Wants to add a subdivision surface, so we don't want that. Okay, so I'm just going to neaten up some of this geometry a bit. This. this as well. Let me just do this. Alright, so now that I've cleaned up some of this geometry, what we're going to be doing is adding in a subdivision surface. So let's go ahead and do that. Subdivide this. And I'll just do a subdivision surface of about 2 for now. And then one thing you'll notice, the edge over here is looking a little too sharp. The thing about the iPhone is it really flashes from the side of the phone to the back of the phone quite smoothly. So to get this result, what we can do is grab this edge over here and then double tap G, and then we can slide this between the two next verts. So we're just going to bring them all down a little bit. Just like that, and you can see that looks a lot better. Usually I have a bit of a problem with this vert over here. So let me just see. I'm just going to just bring this in a bit. Usually that helps, but it's actually not giving me much of a problem at the moment, so that's quite cool. Alright, so this is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead into the right side view, and we're going to start adding in the screen. This is quite a tricky part for me to model because there's not a lot of reference images to show exactly how the back cover is going to meet up with the screen. So let me just show you an image texture here. I mean a picture from a real iPhone. How this transition occurs. Just gonna find it here, and I got it right here. You see, it kind of it comes out, and then there's like an indent, and then it transitions to the screen, and then I'll show you the one I did. Here you can see the one I did. It's pretty similar. You can't really see it well in that one. Let me just get another picture here. So I'm working on my second screen, but I've got it right here. Actually, I don't have it. Yes, I've got it right here. My bad. Yeah, I got it. You can see I also have that transition where it's got that bump, and then it comes out, and then it gets to the major, then it starts making the screen. So I will be doing that. And this is quite a good image. You can see the quality we're going to get with the buttons and all that. Okay, so I'm just going to open up this rend on my second screen just so I can have something to reference while I do this, because yeah, just grab this real quick. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. What we're going to do is we want this what we want is, sorry, I'm just trying to get my notes. What we want is to have a nice rounded edge right at the end here. So it's really easy to do this. And actually, before I do this, I'm gonna apply my mirror modifiers. It's easier to scale stuff when you're dealing in something that goes all around the mesh as opposed to just one upper right quadrant. I'm just gonna go to the right side view, and then what I'm going to do is hit E for extrude and then cancel any selection. And then I'm just going to hit G and then Y and bring this back to about here. And actually what we should have is another loop cut here. So I'm going to go ahead and create this one and scale it up perhaps. So right there to just make it a little more, rounded. And then I'm going to move this over to that loop cut we just created and then scale this up to about there. And one thing to keep in mind as well, whenever we scale things on a rectangular object, it's going to scale on one axis more than the other. So you want to just go ahead and scale another axis a bit more, just to make that a bit better. Okay, so let's have a look at this edge we've just created, and is this round enough? Okay, this is looking pretty good. If you're having a hard time seeing it, there's this feature Blender has called matcap. And this is going to change the viewport shading, which is really helpful sometimes. As you can see, you can see a lot more with this on. So yeah, maybe I'll just make this a little thicker just by scaling it down a bit. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay, that looks good. I'll turn off my Mac cap, and then I'm going to go back into the right side view. So what we're going to do now is stop modeling the screen part of the iPhone. So I'm going to duplicate this this whole string of verts that we just created just by hitting Shift D, and then I'm going to right click any movement, and then hit P with those selected. And then what we've done now is created that as second object. I should have shown you what I did there actually. Okay, so we hit P and then we say separate selection. And now this is separated. Alright, so actually I think I separated more than one. That's good. Okay, so we're just going to edit mode, I'm going to select it, and we're going to extrude this just to where the edge of the phone is. It's going to object mode so we can see this a little better. And just over there. And then remember, whatever we do to one side when we're scaling with a rectangular object, we must make sure it's taken on the other side as well. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so now let's do this. Okay, before we add the dent, we're just going to add a bit of a fall off over here. So we just have this slight angle, maybe a little less of an angle. And then we're going to, oh, sorry, I'm getting lost. Oh, you see that? Let's scale this down as well. Then again, scale on the other axis, because as you can see, it's not scaling neatly all around there. Just like that, looks pretty good. So I'm still trying to get used to these pie menus, so it's flashing through different things here. That's a bit too much, I think. So what that looks good. Then what we're going to do is give this a mean crease of 1. So let's just go over here and mean crease 1, and then we're going to extrude this, scale this down, and make sure that it's scaling, that it's taking on all sides properly. You can see it isn't, so we're going to scale a bit more on the x-axis. Then just going over to the right view again. And then now that we've scaled that down, we're going to just hit G and then Y and bring this over to about here. Actually, scale this up a bit more. That was a bit more than I expected. How's that? No, let's scale that up a bit. And then remember, whatever we do to the one side with a rectangular object, we must do to the other side a bit more. A little difficult to get in there. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. There's not really much to talk about when you're busy doing this modeling. Anyway, so now that I've done that, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to extrude it, G and then Y, and we're going to just take this over to our first lead cut and scale this down just a little bit to about there, and then a little on the x-axis as well, a little more on the x-axis I should say. And then finally, that's it for our indent. You'll see, we'll have a look at that now. Just extrude this again and take this back to about there. Make sure it's taken nicely on the x-axis. Yep, that looks pretty good. And then we're just going to extrude this, and this is going to be our festival screen. So let me throw in these background images again. And you can see it's not perfect, but it's okay because we can see what's going on. And we're just going to scale this screen down. Where the screen should be, let's say, about here perhaps. That looks pretty good. Yeah, you can see what our normals are, but doing some weird thing here. So let's just select everything, go into shading and UV, and then recalculate the normals. Okay, and as you can see what I was talking about, well, with the rectangular surface, it's not going to scale equally. So let's just scale a bit more on the x-axis. And then that looks pretty good. Then let's enable this matte cap. Where'd it go? Here it is. Then you can see we have that indent over there. It might be a little too big, but yeah, it might be a little too big. You might want to just make that a bit smaller, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. You should be able to do that, but I might as well do it. Let's just select all these verts over here, just to make it a little bit smaller. And then these. And then finally, these over here. What I'm going to do is just hit S and then Y and then close the mouse cursor a bit. Actually, I shouldn't have selected these, sorry. Just like that, and then, like I said, we're just gonna hit S and then Y and scale these down as such. Here's just something we want, maybe a bit more. And that's just adding making the crease a bit smaller. But yeah, let's take the whole thing down a bit more. Y-axis. Anyway, I think that's looking pretty good. I'm just gonna turn off my matcap, and then let's start modeling the actual screen part. Okay, so I'm gonna delete all the bottom verts again, because we'll apply a mirror modifier. There's no need to do all of this on both sides. Just delete all those verts and then go over to our modifier window and then select mirror. And we only want to mirror on the Z axis, sorry. Okay, so I'm just going to clean this up a bit just by selecting these verts and S, X, 0, and that's going to align them on this X axis. Just like that. Okay, yeah. Now what we're going to do is add in 2 loop cuts where the screen is going to begin. As you can see what I'm doing here, just lining these where the screen is going to begin. And then, so I should explain what I'm doing a little better. I guess what we're going to do now is grab all these verts over here and all these verts over here, hit S, Z, and then 0. And what this is going to do is it's going to align these perfectly. Yeah, it's going to align them perfectly. Anyway, it's a really helpful thing. You can learn that. Okay, let's select these verts, F to fill, just like we're doing at the back. And we're going to be doing the exact same thing here. As you can see. And again, we do want more horizontal lines than vertical lines, because we do have this speaker over here we want to model. You can't really see it in this very properly, I apologize for that. Just try and make these as neat as possible. Just like that. Okay, so let's start adding in our horizontal lines. How many do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And yeah, that doesn't look so hot, does it? It doesn't. We just stop adding them to about here, and then neaten up some of this geometry a little bit. Sorry, I'm just gonna bring this up. Suppose I should do this actually while I'm busy modeling a bit anyway. Just like this. Okay. So yeah, we can still add a few more of these horizontal cuts. Yeah, now we can go ahead and add in a vertical one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Yeah, iPhone is looking quite nice. Wait, one thing, what is going on over here? Yeah, just disregard this main crease over here that's ain't so hard. We'll do that when we're finished modeling this actually. So let's just fill up all of this again. Trying to go as fast as possible. I don't want this video to go on for too long. The modeling does take quite some time. And then the last one, nope. We don't want to do the last one over there. Let's add a horizontal. 1, 2, 3, 4. just like that. Alright, that looks pretty good. Okay, so what we're going to do, yes, we're going to take away this mean crease over here because we don't want this making it look very strange. So let's just give that a value of 0. And then how does pushing keys? Like you can see, I'm taking me quite a while to get used to these Python menus, but once I do, it's going to be very helpful, I'm sure. Okay, so let me enable the matcap and have a look at this. Yeah, so this is looking very nice. We have all the basic geometry all mapped out. Now we're going to start modeling some of the smaller stuff like the camera flash, which is all the circular objects and the home screen button and all that. But that was my phone you heard just now, so I'm just going to quickly check my phone. Alright, so let's go ahead and add in that home button. Okay, so I'm going to take this screen over to a second layer, so we don't have to worry about any of that geometry, doesn't get in the way. Then I'm going to disable matcap and then re-enable this mirror modifier. We don't need to be mirroring anything just now, and right now. Okay, so I'm going to show you a really helpful feature over here that's been added into Blender. Probably a while ago. I'm only discovering it now, and it's been amazing. It really is one of the coolest features I've found in Blender so far. And I'm going to show you in a second. Okay, so I'm going to delete all these verts in the center, just like this. I'm going to select all the outlying verts, and I'm going to hit Alt-Shift-S. And look at that, that makes a nice circle for us. But actually, that's not a very nice circle to me. That's some more geometry. Alt-Shift-S, and then that's looking very cool. Oh, you see we're having a bit of a problem with this geometry over here, so we just need to take some of this down. So let's go ahead and do that. Deselecting all this, and then throwing that down. Same thing over here, deselect these, and throw this down just to give this home button, some more space to breathe like it's alive. No, but yeah. Okay. Alt-Shift-S, and then that looks pretty good. Let's reposition this down a bit to there, and scale this down just to about there, and that looks really nice. You'll see the subdivision surface will take care of any non-circular things. You can see that looks pretty cool, and if you want to add that, make that more circular, of course, all you can do is add some more geometry, but I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so another thing we're going to do is extrude in these down to, and then scale that down to about there. Oops, I'm still on subdivision of 4. I'm going to scale this down over here, and this is where our silver along the button is going to be. So we want to keep this here. So let's bring this down a bit because this curves in, and then we're going to apply a mean crease just to over here, this one, mean crease of 1. Okay, then what we're going to do is just scale this in like this, and I know what you're thinking. Isn't this supposed to be spherical, like bending in? And yes, it is, but an easy way to do this, we're going to enable proportional editing, and then go to sphere mode. Then we're just going to hit G, Y with these centermost verts selected, and then scroll in so it's proportion size, as you can see over here at the bottom of the screen, is really like what value we're going to be using. 0.0. We're just going to bring this into about there, and you can see that's now made a very nice circular spherical indent, which is a lot easier doing that way than moving them each individually. Okay, well, besides my random babbling, this is going quite well so far. Maybe we can just move these up a bit more. Turn off proportional editing. I'm just going to move that up to about there. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, we don't need to define the end of this where our silver is going to be, because the image texture will do that for us. Not the image texture, the material, I mean. Oh, yeah, you see we've done something weird here. I see what we've done. Oh, bother. We weren't clapping with the mirror modifier, but simple fix. Right, yes, simple fix. What I'm going to do is select, okay, not so much of a simple fix because this is connected and this isn't. Let's go ahead and scale these all the way down so they're actually on top of each other. As you can see what I'm doing here. This. And then we'll just merge these at the center using Alt M at the center. Alt M at the center. Chances are you haven't done the same thing, so maybe I should just pause the video while I fix this. Alright, so I'm sorry about that. That was a real stupid mistake on my behalf, but as you can see, it's all fixed also. Simple fix. One thing you must always try to remember when you add a number modifier is if it needs to be connected, make sure you have enabled clipping before you apply that modifier. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this speaker over here. Just as if I can try. You can't really see it that well here, but what we can do is add in 2 circles to sort of mark where we want our measures to be a little better, so we're not stumbling all over the place. So I'm just going to add in these over here, just like this, and like that. And that's where our 2 things will be. Okay, you can see we need more geometry here, which is a bit of a pain. Or do we? No, I suppose let's add some more geometry. The reason why I don't want to add geometry, and I'll show you in a second. Well, the reason why I'd rather not add geometry, because this really messes up our nice curvature over here, but it is quite fixable, so I suppose I should just stop being lazy and do it. Because it isn't too bad, that's also a very easy fix. But sometimes they get really irritating. We can scale this one down a bit more. Okay, so let's just do this. There's not much to talk about while I'm doing this. Okay, that looks fine, and then let's go ahead and model the speaker. Let's add in some more cuts, loop cuts over here and here, and then scale this to the center, hit S, X, and then just throw this to about there, and then we can bring these down as well. This is something like this. And that looks very curved actually. That's alright. We can fix this quite easily. So actually, let's make that a bit better. Sorry about that, let me just fix this. No, it's really unprofessional of me. But what's probably better to do is make this less pointed, just like doing this. And this is gonna look good for us, as you can see. Okay, we can bring this actually up here a bit, so we can just match it with our circle. And same with this one. Bring that down. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and do this. Remember, we don't need much geometry because we're going to be applying quite a mean subdivision surface, and you can see that's going to fix that for us. Now, of course, depending on what your scene is going to be, if you can have like an iPhone sitting on a table in a architectural rend, you don't need as much geometry, but you can even just use the texture for the speaker. But this is a close-up, so we want to get as much resolution here as possible. What I'm going to do is just level this out a bit, and these ones out a bit as well. Okay, and that looks fine. I suppose we could use some more geometry along the sides here, but what I'm going to do also with the buttons is I'm going to apply a subdivision surface of 1, and then we can go in and we can smooth out all of those, all of these edges, which is a lot easier to do than adding geometry now. Yeah, so let's go ahead and extrude this in actually. That's what to do. let's go ahead and E and then push Y and just bring this into about here. And then I'm going to extrude this and scale this down just like that. And then give all these edges a mean increase of 1. If I can select it. Just like that, and then just throw that mean increase all the way up. And then, yeah, we do need some more geometry over here, so let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, that's fine. Later, once we apply our subdivision surface, we just fix this a bit. Alright, cool. So it's going quite well so far. Okay, so that's it for all the modeling on the screen. Now all we need to do is the buttons. And of course the camera flash. Let's do that one now actually. Because it's really fun adding circles with this new feature. Okay, so just align all of these over here and some more geometry here. We can delete these bits over here and then add some more geometry here, one here, and here. And then we're just gonna go Alt Control S. And look at that. There's a nice circle. I suppose we do need to add some more geometry over here. So let's go ahead and add 2 more loop cuts going along here. Alt Control S, and then just make that a circle. How easy is that? That is so cool. That is so cool. The same thing, this isn't too important because this is like an extremely small hole. We're not going yeah, so you probably won't see it. But something like that is fine. And of course, what I said before, it'll be a lot easier to start giving everything a bit of a higher quality once we add a subdivision surface. So that's what I'll be doing. And then those will look good, but that looks pretty good for now. I'm happy with that. And then, like we did before, we're just going to extrude both of these in by hitting E and then Y and taking this just about there. And then scale down, and then scale down. And then also a mean increase on all of these edges over here. Just like that, and that looks really cool. And like I said, when we had our subdivision surface, we'll be tightening this up a bit, making it a bit high resolution. So don't worry about that. We're going to get this really high resolution. Okay, so the only thing left to do now, I think, is the buttons, and that will be it for the modeling. Other than the camera, but the camera will be a really quick thing. Okay, so the buttons are a bit of a challenge in a way, but yeah, we'll be doing that. So just gonna pause the video for a second. All right, let's get started on these buttons. Okay, so it's important that we make sure that the centermost loop cut is in the center of the button. So let's look. Is it? Yes, this is it, and it is in the center of the buttons. So that's quite cool. Okay, so let's add some more geometry so we can start defining our buttons. Let's put one over there and one over there, and then one over here, and finally one over here. Okay, so once we start moving around these vertices, we want to make, because as you can see, we have buttons on the right side in more or less in the same place. So having all of this geometry applied on all throughout both sides of this mesh could be a problem. So what I'm going to do is hide half of our mesh, and then that's going to, through hiding half of our mesh, it's going to be easier just to keep track of and to see what we're doing with keep track of our geometry and see what we're doing with said geometry. Okay, so like I said, we're going to hide half our mesh. So let's go ahead and hide half of it, including the halfway mark. And just by hitting H, we're just going to hide that. I think going over to the left view, and then bring this down a bit actually. We're just going to select all these. And again, like I said, we will be giving this more of a resolution once we add our subdivision surface. But the subdivision surface won't really fix it if it's this low on geometry. So we'll fix that, but it'll be better to add some more geometry now. So let's go ahead and add 2 more loop cuts. But now, oops, my bad. One thing I should mention, a mistake I always make, whenever you want to add some loop cuts to a mesh that's been hidden, it's not going to apply on the hidden side, which you would expect it to be applied to the hidden side, I suppose, but it doesn't. Or at least I expect it to be, but it doesn't. So always make sure you unhide everything before you add some more geometry. So let's go ahead and loop cut this where we want it to, over here and over here, and then we want to scale this new geometry up so we can keep that nice curve, and then go to the top view and see how this has been added. See if we can make this a little more rounded, just like that. That looks pretty good. Yeah, I have tried making this iPhone several times, and the method I'm sharing with you is probably one of the best ones I've found. But even though some of what I'm doing might seem weird. Okay, so let's go ahead to the left side of our thing again, and then hide all the rest, including this halfway vertice, this halfway loop cut, just like this, and then hit H. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to scale this on both sides so we can keep the it even. Let's go ahead and scale Z axis, and then deselect this, and then deselect this, and reselect that, and then scale Z axis, and then deselect this, and deselect this, and then scale Z axis. That looks really nice. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so now what other buttons do we have here? We have this one here, so let's go ahead and do that. Remember, before we add any loop cuts, we need to unhide everything, so let's go ahead and do that. And then add in some more geometry over here, and over here, and over here, and then finally over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and hide the rest of our mesh. Well, actually, we don't need to hide the rest of the mesh because there isn't a button over here. So it doesn't matter how we arrange our geometry. So we only have 2 to change here. And like I keep saying, we'll have more geometry once we apply our subdivision surface. Okay, so let's go ahead and extrude this in on the x-axis. Just to about there. And then we're going to apply a mean crease to the edges and the inside edges, as you can see what I'm doing right here. And then as well as these vertical edges, if I can select them. Hope what I'm saying makes sense. Not sure if it is though. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's add some more loops over there, and then that looks pretty good. And yes, as I keep saying, we will be adding some more geometry. We'll be making it more accurate once we add some more geometry when we apply our subdivision surface. Okay, same thing here. Let's go ahead and select this, deselect whatever I can. There. We're going to extrude this in on the x-axis. And then one thing I want to point out to you, let me just find a reference image over here quickly. Something to do with the buttons. Gosh, I've lost my reference image. Sorry about this, I'm just on my second screen trying to find the reference image. Okay, I have it over here. I have the folder, Okay, I got it, yep. Okay, you'll notice that this the button extrudes in and then like scales down, and then giving us some place to make this shiny over here. So we'll be doing that. So we're going to scale this down to about there, and then scale on the y-axis a little bit more because this is also a triangular shape. And then, of course, giving it a mean crease, and then on these edges as well. Once we start doing the texturing, we'll be changing quite a lot of this, I think. Just, it depends on how much texture we can actually see, but yeah, for now this is looking pretty good. Yeah, that looks good. Let's actually bring this down a bit more. It's really gone way more that one than the other one. Let's bring that down to about there, and actually just bring this one down a bit more. And then that looks really good, as you can see. That looks nice. And then let's add some more geometry in here, just like this. Alright, cool. So that's that. Now we just have a few more buttons to make, 2 more, I think. But that's on the other side, so let's go ahead and do this. And then, as you can see what I was saying, we now have a lot of geometry here, and it can get quite confusing. So we're going to go ahead and hide half our mesh, including the halfway point. And it's Alt-H to unhide things, just in case you were. Yeah. Again, I can see we've significantly limited the amount of verts we have here, and it's making it less confusing. Actually, what I'm going to do is, this is the halfway mark, correct? That is the halfway mark. I'm just gonna move this whole thing over so that's in the center. Like that. Alright. So I'm gonna move this one up to where this curve is gonna begin. Then I'm also gonna move this up a bit and this up a bit. And now I need more geometry here, so I need to unhide everything and then throw in some more geometry. And then hide everything again. Just like that. Okay, doing the same thing we did with the top there, we're going to take this over just to where this curve is going to begin. We're going to select these 3 and these 3, S, Z, and just scale this up to about there. Deselect these, and then scale this up to about there, and that looks pretty good. And as I keep saying, we will be adding some more geometry once we apply our subdivision. Let's extrude this in to about there. Apply a mean crease to that, then as well as this mean crease of 1. Now what I'm doing there, in case you don't know, is just holding Shift E and then dragging my mouse out, and that's gonna, the more you drag your mouse, the stronger the mean crease you're gonna give it. Okay, yes, oops, remember, don't forget, unhide everything when you want to add geometry. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. We only have one more to do before we start doing the buttons, so let's go ahead and do that. We don't need to unhide anything actually, because this geometry is fine. Well, actually, is it hidden? No, it's not. Okay, same thing again. We're just gonna move this on over to here, into here, selecting. Actually, we better to hide everything. Oh, don't tell me I've made this mistake. I have. Look at that. I was supposed to move the mesh when I've unhidden everything, but I didn't. So let me just move this whole thing over. My bad. Sorry about that. I always make changes when I've hidden stuff, and it just messes up everything. Yeah, that's more or less fixed. Okay, so I'm going to select these 3, and then these 3 again, and then S, Z, throw this all the way up there. Deselect these, that one. Deselect these, and then S, Z, all the way up there, and that looks pretty cool. And we will be making this better once we add in our. That didn't look like it took. Wait, come on. We want to go to wireframe mode. Oh yeah, I've only scaled one of these. Sorry about that. Let me just redo that and throw this up there. Throw this up there. Okay, we're gonna leave this until we'll leave this part until we add our subdivision surface. Because we're gonna be extruding. We want to keep a fine edge. Let me get a reference image here so you can see what I mean. We want to keep this nice closeness to the actual body of the back, unlike buttons. So we'll be doing this only once we apply a subdivision surface of 1. Okay, so let's go on over and make the buttons. I'm going to go to layer 3, go to the left view, add in a cube, scale the cube down to button size, the standard unit of button, just to like that, and then scale this up. So about there, we'll add in 5 lid cuts, and then same thing we've always done. Just move these like this. Just like that, that looks pretty good. Okay, now another thing we want to do is we just get a reference image here. These buttons have a sort of a shiny value as well on the edges, so they kind of scale down on the sides here. So we can do that just by adding in a cut over here, and then scaling this down like that, and then a bit more on the other axis because it's a rectangular object. Just like that, that looks pretty good. And let's add some more geometry because we're going to be dividing this of, let's say, 2. And let's give a more geometry vertically and horizontally. And then that looks pretty good. Okay, so we're just going to be copying this button throughout our mesh. So that's my thing. So let's go ahead and do that. Go to the front view. It's peeking out a little bit like that. You can see we don't want it to peek out too much, just about there. We can duplicate this and throw this to the top as well. Go into the left view and reposition these. Just like that, that looks pretty cool. And then let's duplicate this button. And scale it over here. Scale out quite a lot, and we do want to make this button a bit thicker, so we're just going to hit S and then Y and bring it out to about there. This button is very close to the beginning over there. Oh, this is looking very slanted. Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. And now we do have one more button to do, so I'm going to duplicate this. Drag this over to the side, it's S, X, -1, and that's going to flip that. And then G, X, and we can just throw that over there. Match this up with our buttonhole. Just like that. Now we can start adding some of the geometry I was talking about. So let's get ready to add in another apply one of our lowercase subdivisions of 1. That did not make sense. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and copy this whole scene by hitting Shift D when selecting everything and move it over to the last layer, which is the layer we usually use for backups. So let's just keep that there just in case we want to go back to do something. Okay, so let's it's because it's time to save. Let's go have a sip of coffee. Cold coffee. and then go over to a subdivision of 1 and then just apply this. And then look at that, we have a lot of geometry. And this is going to allow us to just neaten up these buttons a bit. So I'm going to hide one side of our mesh. This, and then hit H. And just remember that if you're making a scene where the iPhone is going to be on a desk and you're not going to be seeing it, you definitely want to leave this part up, because this is a lot of geometry and a lot of vertices for something that's not going to actually make an appearance in like a close-up in your scene. Okay, so we're just going to fix this by grabbing these verts and then probably just scaling these down a bit like this. Just look. That doesn't look too hot, but we can grab these as well and then bring these down a bit more. Then just, oh, come on, do this to all of these so we can get this nice curved feel at the top here. So we're already approaching almost an hour on this video, so let's apply it on the subdivision surface just of 1, and then you can see that's looking nice and rounded again. So you can see that's very cool. I'm not going to be doing all of this on the video. I'm quite sure I can leave this up to you to do. I'm just going to show you how to do some of it, just like this, just smoothing it out. Actually, I smoothed it out the wrong way, my bad. As you can see, but it's almost an hour now, so I'm going to leave this up to you. Just do a few to show you. Oh, remember to deal with the flash, because that's all I'm going to be doing for the buttons. I'm sure you can get that right. But as you can see, this is looking very nice and crisp along this top edge here. And when rendered, it'll be even more apparent. Yeah, so that Mac cap thing, but yeah, look at that. It looks really, really nice. So that's cool. You can do that all around. And then as well, like I said, we're going to be doing this with the camera. Actually, the camera doesn't even need that. That's looking at the flash. I mean, that's looking very rounded. I like that. Yeah, cool. So I think that's it. Whoops, almost forgot this SIM card slot type thing. Must forget about that. So I'm going to unhide everything. I'm going to go on over to hide our mesh on one side. Which side are we going to add this camera slot? This side. Is this side, isn't it? So just go ahead and hide all of this. And then what we're going to do is just select all of this geometry along here, which is going to be the cap that goes where the SIM card will go of the iPhone. And then we can hit P, and we're gonna, oh gosh, actually, what would be better to do is scale this down somewhat. You can see that, sorry about that. Just to make that a bit more rounded. And then make this a bit more rounded as well. And then we can go ahead and select all of these again. An easy way to select this is in there. Just like that, and we're going to hit P and then separate selection. And then with this separated, I'm going to try go into object mode. There we go. And then with this selected, I'm going to give this a mean increase all around the edge of 1. And then I'm going to extrude this back a bit. It doesn't matter how far it goes, because we just want to make it look like it has some depth where this is going to separate. As you can see what we're doing here. And then we're going to be doing the same for this cover. We're just going to be giving all around here a mean increase. And we will add more geometry here in a second. I'm just going to finish up here. And then extrude this on the x-axis. Just to about there, and then just go on in there and select these edges. Then you can see we really have the ability to make this as accurate and as detailed as we like. But for the sake of time, I'm just trying to go as fast as possible. But you can spend time on it and get that nice. And then look at that. You can see what I'm trying to get at there. Now that looks pretty good. Maybe I can scale this up a bit more. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Enable that mac cap thing. Alright, write this down. Yeah, that looks nice. I'm happy with that. Okay, so got the buttons. Yeah, this is looking very nice. As you can see, the modeling process has gone quite smoothly. So yeah, so one more thing, this SIM card does have like a sort of a hole where you're supposed to insert the pin to you know, your thing. We're going to be doing exactly what we did before. We're just going to add some more geometry and then delete all these centermost verts, select all the surrounding ones, and then Alt Shift S, just like that, and we have a nice hole there that we can just take all the surrounding verts, extrude it down just about there. We can fill that up. It's looking a bit messy, but and that's fine. Leave it there. We're just going to be giving this a black value inside there. I mean a black texture. Okay, so yeah, that's it for this video. In the next video we'll be texturing it, and that's where it actually begins to get mildly educational. I'm not sure how educational this modeling part was, but I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.